cold wind sliced through the marble corridors of the Capitol. It wasn't the weather. It was tension unseen but felt by everyone walking the halls of power. Cameras flashed, aides rushed, and whispered fears echoed behind closed doors. Something was about to crack wide open. Adam Schiff sat rigidly at the edge of his leather chair, eyes locked on the dossier marked eyes only. The manila folder had arrived anonymously that morning, no return address, no clue, only a thick stack of classified documents and a USB drive containing what could only be described as political napalm. If its contents were verified, it would not only end one man's career but bring down pillars of American trust, and that man was Senator Kennedy. Not Robert F. Kennedy Jr. This was Jack Kennedy III, a firebrand Louisiana senator with the sharp tongue of a preacher and the popularity of a rock star in red states, loved for his anti-establishment crusades and loathed by Democrats. Kennedy had risen from obscurity to dominate headlines with just a few viral speeches. But Schiff knew better. Power like that came with shadows, and Adam had spent years learning to see in the dark. He tapped the folder once. "Get me Director Langley and tell him to come without his detail," Schiff said to his aide, Dana, who looked back with widened eyes. "You think it's that serious?" she asked, voice dropping. He didn't answer. He just looked out the window where the Capitol dome loomed like an ancient oracle, forever watching. At that same moment, Jack Kennedy III stood beneath the rotunda, a spotlight soaking his perfectly tailored Navy suit. Reporters surrounded him like seagulls circling a battleship, shouting questions over each other. Kennedy raised a hand, and silence rippled across the chaos. "My fellow Americans," he began, voice deep and steady. "Today I stand not as a senator, but as a servant to truth. There are forces deep, entrenched, and unelected that want to control you. But I promise this. I will drag every secret from their shadows and hold them accountable, even if they're wearing my party's colors." Cheers erupted, cameras zoomed in, social media exploded. Somewhere deep in the intelligence community, alarms were being tripped. Kennedy had just named names vaguely, carefully, but enough to send shivers down spines in Langley and the Pentagon. He smiled for the cameras. But behind the practiced grin was calculation. He knew Schiff would respond. He was counting on it. Back in his private office, Schiff wasn't smiling. Langley, head of domestic counterintelligence, leaned back in a chair across from him. "This folder," Schiff tapped it, double quotes, "contains evidence that Kennedy is tied to offshore energy deals with Russian intermediaries. It links him to a dark network of political funding, crypto transfers, deepfake bot farms, a new style of influence campaign AI, undetectable. Built to swing 2028, Langley whistled. "You sure it's legit?" Schiff opened his laptop and played a video. It showed Kennedy in a hotel room in Prague, shaking hands with a man known only by his codename Volkov. The camera footage had no audio, but lips could be read. Schiff handed Langley a transcript. "Either we stop him," Schiff said, "or by next year, democracy as we know it is a prop in his theater." Langley looked up. "And what if you're wrong?" Schiff's jaw tightened. "Then he'll burn me, but not before I try." Kennedy was already 2 steps ahead. That night, his campaign team leaked a redacted version of Schiff's investigation, to the press, spinning it as a deep state smear. He used Schiff's reputation against him, calling him America's cold warrior, clinging to outdated scripts. Cable news turned it into a blood sport. Hashtag Schiff smears and hashtag Kennedy truth trended within hours, but what no one knew was that Kennedy had his own folder, one that tied Schiff to a covert surveillance project. Authorized post 9/11s, it had been buried in bureaucratic language and shielded under national security justifications. Until now. Kennedy grinned as he watched Schiff go live on CNN. "Go ahead, Adam," he whispered. "Tell the world your truth. I'll bury you in it." A week later, a live debate was arranged, unprecedented and unsanctioned, to titans, facing off on the floor of the Lincoln Memorial. No moderators, no notes, just pure political combat. Half the nation watched. The other half was glued to their phones. "You accuse me," Kennedy said, eyes like daggers, "of being in bed with foreign powers. But what's more foreign to America, deals in the open, or surveillance behind the people's backs?" Schiff didn't flinch. "You cloak yourself in liberty while dancing with authoritarianism. The enemy isn't just outside, Senator. Sometimes it wears a flag pin and smiles for cameras." The audience roared. It was no longer about parties. It was personal, and it was just beginning.